Hi, this is Freck back at it again on the YouTubes. I got a response at all to my last one, which was shocking, and then it was all very nice and supportive and great, so I decided to try another one. Also, I'm doing it because one of the comments that I got yesterday had some questions in it from a user called Lalia, so I'm going to try to answer some of those. Well, the first question was, what was the reaction of your local and or online trans community to your detransitioning? Uh, to start, really the basic background information to anything that involves pretty antisocial, so I didn't have a local trans community. I had one coworker who was non-binary, and we talked about that a bit, and she was really supportive. My family was pretty supportive. It's supportive all around, a little confusion now and then, but I was always clear pretty much from the beginning that, let me rephrase that. I never, though I identified as male very strongly, I wasn't really pushy when it came to things like pronouns and stuff like that. I hate to correct people. So it wasn't really that much of a difference recently. The next question is, can you talk more about resisting femininity, and what are your tips for girls who want to do that but are afraid of the social backlash from other girls and from boys? I really wish I could help you more. For me, resisting femininity wasn't really like a conscious choice that I made so much as standard femininity was just inaccessible to me. I can't do it. I joke often that I have an electrified lump of ADHD up here instead of a brain. That I have texture sensitivities. I can't shut up to save my goddamn life. You know, so resisting what happened when I started identifying as trans is that I didn't, I still, a lot stayed the same, but I stopped feeling guilty and weird about it. I felt like it was just doing what was right now instead of being weird. Tips. I do have a few, and this is the hardest advice to follow in the whole world. The people who matter won't mind. The people who mind don't matter. Best advice I can give anyone on anything is just to stop giving a shit. Other people are morons, like across the board. So really, just before you do anything, like question everything. When you're getting dressed in the morning, when you're, I don't know, brushing your hair, when you're sitting on a bus, when you're walking around town, question, am I doing this because it's what ladies should do or because it's what I want to do? I actually, part of transitioning for me was I did already have a lot of fairly more masculine mannerisms, but things like my walk was sort of in between. I don't really have your stereotypical hip sway, but I did keep my feet really close together, and I would practice and practice and practice, keeping my feet, hip width apart when I walked, taking up space, looking people right in the eye as I walked by, and that was, that fell under learning how to pass as a man, but these skills, this demand that people put up with the fact that I take up space in the world and don't go out of my way to make other people comfortable all the time. I still do a lot. That happened under the banner of learning to pass as male, but those skills have remained useful to this day. So I wish I had better advice. You just, if people are jerks to you, they're assholes. people who are decent, the people I have met who I actually really like, think I'm cool. You know, they think that the fact that re- I'm sorry, my cats are having a spat over there. Um, and the people who I really get along with think that I'm like, trailblazing, and Amazonian, and not a freak of nature. And if someone does think I'm a freak of nature, yeah, I am. Fuck you. There you go. So find your people, find your tribe. Like I hung out with nerds. I hung out with art nerds and video gamers. I can't play games and I can't draw to save my life, but those were the people who are like supportive. So they were who I hung out with. You just gotta choose your social circles. That's not great advice, I'm sorry. The next question is, how do you deal with people either assuming you're a boy or in a more liberal area assuming that I'm a trans boy? I deal with it as little as possible. I had this happen to me just yesterday. Um, so the way that I deal with someone who I'm never going to see again, assuming I'm a guy, is I just let it happen. I'm bald and I don't wear makeup and I have everything down to my underwear is male's clothes, and I have yeah, okay, that's a reasonable assumption. I just let it go. If it's someone who I'm gonna have to deal with a lot, here's a point. I don't know what your life is like. Other people seem to deal with this more, but I legitimately have no idea how people are reading me gender-wise most of the time. It'll generally come up, it won't have come up until we're in a three-person conversation and someone refers to me in the third person in front of me. And if that doesn't happen, I have no clue. So I was working with this lady, older lady, has a nice, she, around lunch, someone came over to give us a break for lunch, and she was like, okay, I'll give him my radio. And I was like, oh. And normally I just let it go, but there's a decent chance that, we're going to work together again. It's a small company. And some other people who I work with do use she for me and everything. And it doesn't really matter to me because she's nice. And she was being perfectly kind and respectful to me. So what does it matter? But because I just don't want people to get confused about pronouns, I hate the idea of people asking other people, hey, what's Freck's deal? Like, what's going on there? I don't want other people talking about it. I want it to be a conversation with me. So, after I came back from lunch, I was just like, hey, just so you know, I am a girl, by the way. And then they apologize for a whole minute. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just assumed. And I'm like, I understand. I probably would have made that same assumption. It's fine. Just so you know. And that's how I deal with it. I do have quite a few people. Not quite a few. I've moved up to a bigger, more liberal area recently. I don't get out much, but I have had at least 2 or 3 different experiences of other trans people who are visibly trans, and we see each other and there's that look of we are of the same tribe, and I'm not bothered by it. I spent a good deal of money to have this low voice and slightly more pronounced cheekbones than I used to. I spent many years really wanting to appear more male, more masculine, and I put that effort in. And so if people are noticing it, good. I didn't spend the money for nothing. Trans people are still, to the extent that, we're gonna deal with the same issues. I'm out in public, I need to use the bathroom. I have to wonder, oh good God, am I gonna freak someone out by standing in line? Um, Finding something that fits me that like is the button down that I want but can hold these. It's crazy, we're all dealing with the same shit. So I'm not bothered. If we were to have like a long I haven't really made like deep friendships yet, but if we were, we could talk about it and I could be like, yeah, no, I mean, I don't really believe in the whole gender thing anymore, so I'm not really bothering with pronouns anymore, but like, whatever. And I have a lot of faith in my communication abilities that, we could talk about it and understand that, like, here's my experience, here's your experience, we're all valid. It's fun. So, I'm really sorry that, Lalia, that all of my advice boils down to just stop giving a shit. But that's all I got. um, okay. Well, I think this is a decent length for a video. I'm always open to more questions, or discussion, or whatever, man. Like, give me that sweet validation. Like, I'm just gonna post this and just wait for all of the comments telling me how great I am to roll in, because that's what keeps me going. You people are how I manage to not give a shit about the rest of people. Thanks.